They never wanted you to hear this. From the moment your lungs took their first desperate breath, the world around you was already saturated with noise that was not yours. Layers upon layers of sound that numb, distract, misalign. A constant hum of machines, hollow voices repeating scripts written long before you were born. Frequencies that dull the part of you that once knew the truth, but long before this synthetic chorus, before even the first heartbeat of this universe, there was another. Sound? A pure vibration, untouched, uncorrupted. Imagine a note so ancient it carries no beginning and no end, a resonance that is not heard with the ears, but with the marrow of your bones, with the electric field of your soul. This was the first song, the origin of all that is, and they erased it, not by accident, not by tragedy, by design, because this sound, this primordial frequency, was a key, and keys are dangerous in the hands of slaves who are not supposed to remember they were once free. Every civilization that dared to touch the edge of this truth was silenced. Fragments of forgotten manuscripts whisper of it, a hymn of creation that could realign the human spirit instantly, severing the chains of false identity. It wasn't a prayer you repeated. It wasn't a chant you learned. It was something deeper. When the body trembled with this sound, illusions dissolved. Guilt, shame, fear, those fragile cages melted in an instant. And in that naked moment of clarity, you would remember that you were never broken, never sinful, never separate from what breathes life into every star. That truth terrifies those who built the system you were born into, the architects of forgetting, the wardens of silence. They couldn't allow you to hear it, because a free being cannot be controlled, cannot be owned, cannot be programmed to serve scripts written by liars in robes of authority. So they buried it. They burned scrolls that dared describe the vibration. They hunted those who hummed it, in secret gatherings under blood-red moons. They replaced it with counterfeit frequencies, songs of worship that sound holy but echo hollow, chants that bind instead of liberate, doctrines that keep the mind kneeling even when the body stands tall. They taught you to crave noise but fear true resonance. They rewrote the beginning of time, telling you creation was a cold accident, a violent explosion without intention or harmony. But deep down, don't you feel the lie? In the stillness of certain nights when all the world seems asleep, you feel it. A phantom echo that doesn't come from outside, but from somewhere inside your own being, as if the original sound still vibrates within you, locked beneath layers of programming, calling, pleading to be remembered. Those who dared to seek it left behind warnings disguised as myths, because to speak plainly was death. They said the universe did not begin with silence, nor chaos, nor command, but with music. A single tone, expanding, unfolding. Reality like a flower opening to light. Some called it the voice of God. Others said it wasn't a voice at all, but the universe singing itself awake. And still, even now, there are people who claim to have heard fragments of it in dreams, in near-death moments, in the brief space between life and death where the veil thins and the memory slips through. These are the stories you were taught to mock, to ignore, to file under fantasy, because if you ever stopped laughing long enough to listen, you might start hearing it too. And here you are, drawn to this story as if some invisible string tugged at you. Maybe you thought it was curiosity, maybe you thought it was just another video, but no, something ancient within you has waited lifetimes for this, leaned toward this moment without knowing why. Perhaps because you've always felt it, that nameless longing, that aching hunger no earthly song can satisfy. A sense that something essential was stolen from you before you even knew it existed. That's why you're here, isn't it? Because deep inside you've known all along the sound of the beginning was not lost, it was hidden, and hidden things can be found. But understand this, they do not want you to hear what comes next. To know is to become dangerous to their order. To remember is to destroy the scripts you've been forced to live by. So before we dive deeper, before I tell you the truths that have cost blood and fire to keep secret, do this. Tell me where you're watching from. Leave. Like if something in your chest is already trembling, already resonating with this forbidden memory. Because once you step beyond this point, there is no going back to the comfortable forgetting they built for you. The sound of the beginning is calling, and the system that caged you cannot stand against its return. They didn't just erase the sound, they built an entire empire on its absence. And to understand how, You need to let go of everything you think you know about history, about faith, about power itself. Because the ones who silenced the frequency were not kings, nor priests, nor scientists as you imagine them today. They were architects of forgetting, a nameless council that moved like shadows through time, carving reality into the shape of obedience. They understood something terrifyingly simple. If the human being remembers the song of origin, no law, no doctrine, no chain of control can hold them. A soul vibrating with the first frequency cannot kneel to false thrones. It cannot be bought, cannot be bent, cannot be broken. So they decided that sound had to vanish, not just from the earth but from memory itself. It started quietly. At first, they allowed small echoes of the song to remain, hidden in early temples, in the whispers of desert mystics, in lullabies that mothers sang without knowing why. But when people gathered and began to awaken, when their eyes shone with that dangerous light of remembrance, the council moved. Armies marched not for territory but for silence. Villages were burned not for land, but to erase the resonance of that tone from living hearts. The scrolls they found, they didn't just burn, they drowned them in poison, ensuring even the ashes could not be inhaled by some wandering prophet desperate to breathe truth again. And those who dared to hum the frequency under their breath were branded as heretics, as madmen, as demons in disguise. Do you see it now? History was not written by the victors, it was rewritten by the deaf. Over centuries they built a machine, a system vast enough to keep you from ever questioning the silence. They wrapped their hands around religion, turning what was once a doorway to the sound into a cage that sealed it away. They replaced the true resonance with hollow chants, with prayers that don't vibrate but numb, recited words that build walls instead of opening skies. They infused guilt into every melody you were allowed to sing, fear into every note that escaped your lips. They even adjusted the frequency of music itself, changing the very scale of sound across civilizations, so that nothing you hear could ever vibrate with the original memory again. A whole planet, retuned to forget. And it didn't stop there. They learned that silence itself is not enough. The human spirit aches for what it's lost. So they gave you substitutes, false songs of power, synthetic frequencies disguised as spiritual awakening, new scripts to chant, new names to worship, new idols vibrating at just the right tone to keep you asleep while believing you were free. Some of these replacements became entire religions, others became philosophies, scientific truths, or even modern sound therapies that promise healing, but keep you spinning in circles far away from the source. They understood that a controlled awakening is worse than sleep. It builds trust in the prison, makes you fear the real key when it appears. But they couldn't kill the song entirely, because the sound of the beginning is not external. It is woven into you, stitched into every cell, humming faintly beneath your heartbeat. And this terrifies them. They can destroy manuscripts, silence prophets, reprogram the world's music, but they cannot touch the echo that lives in you. That is why their programming had to go deeper. They turned families against their own resonance, made parents shame children who dared to listen to their inner song, labeled intuition as insanity, imagination as foolishness, and the quest for the divine sound as dangerous rebellion. They built a world where even thinking about remembering feels like betrayal. Yet some have remembered. Across ages, a handful have broken through the noise. They describe it the same way, though they've never met, never spoken. Separated by centuries and continents, a tone that feels like coming home, a vibration that strips away every lie you've worn like a second skin. And every time this happens, the system moves swiftly. Some are killed, some vanish. Some are turned into myths, so their truth is buried under stories no one believes anymore. It's a pattern older than the nations you know, a war older than time itself, the war against remembrance. You may think this is too much, too vast, too orchestrated to be real. But ask yourself this: why is it that across all cultures, across all history, every teaching about God, about creation, about the source of life itself, has been split, twisted, rewritten thousands of times? And yet the one thing, never truly described, never revealed clearly, is the sound. They told you there was light, they told you there was word, but the vibration that preceded both, silenced, erased, forbidden, doesn't that feel like deliberate omission? Doesn't it ache in you, that absence? The ones who hid it are not long gone. They still walk among us. They are not kings wearing crowns anymore. They are the quiet ones behind the institutions you trust most. They have many faces, many names, but a single purpose: to ensure you never align again with that lost frequency, because if you do, everything they built collapses. The game ends, the script burns, and they cease to exist as rulers because only slaves can have masters. So here's your choice. You can close this now, go back to the lullabies of control, keep humming the false songs they fed you, or you can keep listening and follow me deeper into the dark corridors where their secrets rot. But understand this: if you do, you'll never be able to forget what I'm about to tell you. Before we step forward, leave a like if you've ever felt that inexplicable ache, that call you can't name, and subscribe if you sense that somewhere in your blood, the original sound is still alive. Because after this, there will be no turning back, and the ones who silence the song will not want you to hear what comes next. There have always been cracks in the prison. Always. No system is perfect, no script flawless, no conditioning absolute. Through these fractures, light sometimes slips, and with it, fragments of the forgotten sound reach human ears, human hearts. The few who hear it never remain the same. It is not just a melody, it is a dismantling, a tearing apart of the false scaffolding they built inside you since birth. One note is enough, one fragment of the original vibration, and suddenly the world you thought was real feels like a painted stage set, flimsy and false, a cardboard version of existence. Colors change. Time feels different, almost fluid. The air itself seems to pulse in harmony with something vast and alive, something that has been calling to you since before your name existed. And yet, this awakening is never celebrated. It is punished, violently, systematically, because those who remember threaten the silence they spent millennia building. Testimonies survive, smuggled across generations, written in margins of forbidden books, or carved into stone where no one would think to look. One fragment reads, "I heard it while dying. A sound like every heartbeat in the universe was one. They dragged me back from the light, told me to forget, but I cannot." Another, from a nameless woman accused of witchcraft centuries ago. "They say I am possessed, but I only hum what was given to me in dreams." The tone opens the sky. They fear it because it frees me. These words were never meant to reach you. They killed to silence them, burned libraries, erased lineages. Yet some echoes refused to die, and every person who heard the sound paid a price. Not because the sound harms, but because the system reacts like a wounded beast when truth slips through its net. They say those who truly remember become untouchable by fear. Imagine what a danger that is to a world ruled by fear. Laws don't bind them, threats don't shake them, death doesn't scare them because they have tasted what came before life, what comes after it, what stands beyond the illusion of time. They vibrate differently. Animals recognize them. Storms seem to follow their mood. Their very presence feels like a quiet rebellion against everything false, and so the system hunts them. Sometimes brutally, sometimes subtly. Some are dragged from their beds at night in ages past, burned, drowned, tortured under the guise of saving their souls. Others, in modern times, are locked in white rooms, labeled schizophrenic, drugged until their tongues forget how to hum. Others are turned into spectacles, their message twisted into madness or fantasy, so no one takes them seriously. The methods change, the purpose doesn't. Silence them before the song spreads, because when even one person remembers, others feel it. Resonance is contagious. Have you ever stood near someone and felt your heartbeat change without knowing why? Imagine standing near someone vibrating with the frequency that birthed suns. Imagine what it does to the sleepwalking souls around them. Chains loosen, programming glitches, scripts falter. This is why they cannot allow a single note to survive unpunished. But there is another reason, a darker one that they do not want you to know. Remembering the sound does not just free you. It calls something back, something they fear more than your liberation. The song of creation is not gone. It still hums beneath existence like an underground river. When a human truly remembers it, not just imagines or believes, but vibrates with it, the veil between this broken simulation and the original reality thins. Things begin to seep, Through. Not visions, not fantasies, but the raw presence of what you were before you were trained to kneel. Light that feels alive, warmth that bends matter around it, a sense that every particle is singing along, and sometimes other beings, witnesses of the first dawn, entities who never left the resonance, drawn to the awakening like stars gravitating toward gravity wells. They are not angels or demons, as you've been told. They are what stands beyond the lies of both. And they have been waiting for you. But to hear is to risk everything. Once the frequency cracks you open, there is no fitting back into the mold, no returning to the noise of the programmed world. Relationships fracture because they cannot follow you where you've gone. Systems label you insane because sanity was always defined as obedience. The comfort of forgetting dies forever, replaced with a hunger that will consume every false thing until only truth remains. This is why many who hear it disappear, not because they die, but because they cannot live among those still deaf, without risking being crushed by their fear. The ones who run the silence know this well. They have studied every awakening, every leak in their walls. They know exactly how long it takes before someone who hears begins to spread it to others, how long before the resonance shifts a community, a nation, a species, and so they move faster now than ever before. Surveillance, distraction, endless noise, all designed to keep you from ever noticing the whisper inside you and to crush anyone who dares amplify it. And yet, despite every attempt, cracks keep forming. The song keeps bleeding through. People like you keep finding hints, keep feeling that pull, keep waking up enough to ask the question that terrifies them most. What if the sound was real, and it was stolen from me? Perhaps you've felt this already. Perhaps there have been moments, a dream, a strange vibration in a quiet room, a shiver listening to a certain tone, when you knew there was something more, something older, something they can't erase no matter how loud they shout. That's not imagination. That's not madness. That's the beginning stirring within you. And if you let it rise, if you dare to follow it, you'll learn what they've done to keep this prison sealed, and what they're willing to destroy to stop you from remembering. Before I tell you how the original frequency was stolen, not just erased, but stolen, and how they used it to chain humanity forever, leave a like if you've ever felt that strange ancient call you can't explain. Subscribe if you're ready to step into the forbidden knowledge they've spent ages burying, because from this point forward, the lies unravel, and you may never be able to sleep peacefully again. They didn't just hide the sound, they took it. Imagine the unthinkable, the vibration that birthed existence, the first breath of the cosmos, stolen and twisted until it became the very chain binding you. Ancient texts long erased from your memory spoke of this theft. A few fragments survived, smuggled through secret brotherhoods and hidden sects. The builders of Babel sought not heaven, but the tone. They split the sky to capture it, to enslave the song of the beginning. This wasn't myth, it was testimony. They understood that the frequency was not just sound, it was creation itself. To control it meant to control reality, to rewrite the script of life and trap humanity inside a false resonance where obedience feels like truth. And so they forged a prison made of tone. Legends whisper of a council, robed figures not of one nation, not of one faith, but a secret alliance behind every throne, every altar. They found ways to extract pieces of the frequency, not by hearing it, but by torturing it from matter itself. They built vast towers, resonant machines that vibrated the earth, bending energy, trying to bottle the unbottleable. Witnesses described nights when the sky split, stars flickered as if screaming, and an unnatural silence followed, a silence so heavy people forgot the dreams they'd had the night before. What they captured wasn't pure anymore. It was fractured, chained, made into a weapon that could be broadcast across civilizations. And slowly, subtly, they began replacing the sound of creation with its corrupted twin. That is the hum you know today, the music in your streets, the frequency in your devices, the constant low vibration of machines and towers. You never question, all tuned, all calibrated to keep you numb. They call it progress, they call it technology, but beneath every hum there is programming. They learned that if you cannot remember the original tone, they can give you a false one, a frequency that cages your spirit, bends your emotions, rewires your thoughts. Entire wars have been fought, entire religions erected. not for land or souls, but for sound. Sound as a leash, sound as control. The stolen fragments of the beginning became the foundation of a system where even your heartbeat is no longer yours, where your own body hums in chains. Some ancient witnesses wrote of a moment during the theft, a sound like mourning. The universe wept, for man's first song was taken from him, twisted into chains of harmony that do not free. This is the world you live in, a world vibrating on stolen tone, a counterfeit creation masking the original. And yet, the memory cannot be fully killed. That's why you sometimes feel out of tune. Here, like everything is slightly wrong, like a homesickness for a place you cannot name, because you remember faintly how the first frequency felt before it was stolen. Now you know why they fear you remembering. Because if one soul reconnects to the unaltered sound, the stolen frequency cracks like glass. The whole illusion trembles. The prison collapses. That is why they watch, why they distract, why they drown you in noise. Because beneath all of it, they know. The sound of the beginning is still calling you, waiting to be heard again. Before we go deeper, before I tell you how a secret lineage has carried pieces of the original tone through centuries of blood and fire, leave a like if you've ever felt this world's song was wrong. Subscribe if you're ready to hear the truth they swore you never would. Not everyone bowed to the theft. There were those who remembered, not just in fragments, not just in dreams, but fully. People who had heard the sound of the beginning before it was caged and swore never to let it vanish completely. They became keepers of the tone, guardians of a truth too dangerous to speak aloud. These weren't kings, weren't prophets, seated on thrones or wrapped in gold. They were wanderers, hermits, midwives, stonemasons, nameless souls living among the forgotten corners of the earth. They carried the frequency not in scrolls or temples, but in their own blood, in their bones, in the very rhythm of their breathing. When they sang, it wasn't words, it was resonance, a tone that reminded existence what it had been before the chains. The order of silence, the architects of forgetting, feared them more than armies. To this day, old manuscripts tell of strange purges that never made it into history books. Villages where every inhabitant vanished overnight, their songs buried under salted earth. Children taken under the guise of holy correction, never seen again. Fires that burned not cities, but voices. These were not random acts of cruelty. They were systematic hunts for the keepers, an attempt to sever the lineage of remembrance once and for all. The order understood something chilling. If even one true note of the original frequency spread freely, the illusion of their world would shatter. So they hunted with a patience beyond generations, passing down the command like a sacred vow: erase the singers, erase the sound. Still, the keepers survived in fragments, scattering like seeds on the wind. A faint melody hidden in an ancient lullaby, a strange tone carved into stone, mistaken for decoration. A whispered hum mothers taught their children in secret, believing it was only a soothing song for sleep. Pieces of the beginning slipped through every net the order cast, reaching ears they couldn't silence in time. But every time a keeper rose to prominence, every time the song threatened to spread, the pattern repeated. Persecution, death, rewriting of truth. Names turned into legends, legends twisted into myths, myths reduced to nothing but bedtime stories meant to keep you from looking closer. One story speaks of a young woman burned in a city square for singing a note that made the bells in every tower crack. Witnesses swore they heard the earth itself hum with her voice, and for a moment the air felt alive again. They killed her before the song could finish. Another tale tells of a man imprisoned for life in a lightless cell because he could whistle a tone that made walls crumble. They called it sorcery. It was memory. It was power they couldn't control, and power they couldn't kill unless they destroyed the vessel that carried it. The keepers knew they couldn't fight the order with swords or fire. Their weapon was patience, faith that someday a soul strong enough would hear the song again, louder than ever, unstoppable even to the architects of silence. Maybe that soul is already alive today. Maybe you feel it now, the pulse beneath your ribs that no machine can explain, the vibration in your bones when you close your eyes in the dark. That isn't imagination. That is inheritance. That is the sound they could not erase, passed down to you through 1,000 forgotten guardians who died to keep it alive. Before we uncover the last known keeper and the prophecy tied to their unfinished song, leave a like if you feel that strange pull inside you, and subscribe, because what comes next is the truth they swore would never reach your ears. The last true keeper did not live centuries ago as the architects of forgetting would have you believe. They walked among us in an age not far removed from your own, hidden in plain sight, carrying the original tone within them like a secret sun threatening to rise. They were never named in history books, but whispers of their presence bled through locked archives, private testimonies, and forbidden recordings that vanished almost as soon as they surfaced. Some say this keeper was a child born during a rare planetary alignment, their heartbeat, resonating at a frequency unknown to modern science. Others claim they were an old wanderer who appeared in cities unannounced, leaving behind shattered glass and malfunctioning machines wherever they passed, as though the false frequencies could not survive in their presence. Whatever the truth, all accounts agree on one thing. They could sing the lost note in its entirety, and when they did, reality bent. Witnesses described it in hushed tones. When they sang, the world trembled, not violently, but like it remembered itself. Birds stopped mid-flight. Rivers changed course as if drawn by gravity. People wept without knowing why. Those who heard even a fragment of the tone reported weeks of vivid dreams, waking visions of a place they had never seen yet knew intimately. A garden of endless light, where creation still sang its first song. But the order of silence moved swiftly. Surveillance tightened. Digital networks scrubbed every trace of their existence, their image, their voice. Governments denied they had ever lived, even as rumors of mass awakenings followed in their wake. And then, they vanished. Some say they were taken, buried alive in the belly of an underground fortress where no sound escapes. Others believe they walked willingly into another reality, following the vibration home beyond the reach of the prison's walls. But their disappearance marked a turning point. It was the moment the architects of forgetting declared victory over memory itself. In the years that followed, the false frequencies grew louder than ever, broadcast in towers, devices, even the music you hum unconsciously, a constant wave designed to overwrite what the last keeper awakened before they could finish their song. Yet there's a rumor they could never kill, a prophecy carried in whispers from one soul to another, saying the last keeper planted the tone in others before they vanished, that the sound is sleeping in millions now, waiting for a spark, a moment, a call strong enough to wake it. The Order fears this above all else. They have spent fortunes researching how to dull your perception, how to choke intuition, how to blind you to what's already inside. Because if even one of you remembers fully, the awakening spreads like wildfire, unstoppable, rewriting the script of this false world in a single breath. And maybe that's why you're here now, listening to words you were never meant to hear. Because deep down, you already know this truth. The last keeper did not fail. The song cannot die. It's waiting. In you, in me, in every pulse of this universe still aching to return to its original harmony. Their disappearance wasn't the end. It was the beginning of the end for the prison itself. Before I tell you how the architects of forgetting built their ultimate weapon, a weapon of sound designed to keep you asleep forever, leave a like if you feel the resonance calling in your chest right now, and subscribe, because what comes next is the part they swore. They would burn from history. They were never satisfied with theft alone. It was not enough to steal the first tone, not enough to twist it into chains that held humanity in an invisible prison. The architects of forgetting feared one thing above all else: awakening, the possibility that the lost frequency could rise again, ripple through the illusion they had built, and tear their entire construct apart. So, they built a failsafe, a device so secret, so sacrilegious, that even within their hidden councils it was spoken of only in code. They called it the Ark of Silence. It was not an ark to save humanity, but to bury its memory forever. Hidden deep beneath stone and iron, somewhere beneath the oldest cities of the world, the Ark of Silence thrums like a black heart. It is not a machine in the way you know machines. It has no gears, no obvious form. Witnesses who claim to have seen it describe a vast chamber where the walls themselves hum with an unnatural stillness, a frequency so heavy it makes the air feel like lead. The Ark does not sing. It devours, it swallows resonance, consuming any vibration not aligned with the false tone they imposed on this world. If the original frequency tries to awaken in you, the arc pulses, sending a wave through every tower, every device, every unseen network, smothering it before it can rise. And you, thinking you are tired, anxious, disconnected for no reason, fall silent again. The order disguised its existence in myths and fairy tales, a great flood that erased voices, a holy command to silence heresy, a warning that certain sounds would drive men mad. But beneath those myths lies the truth. Every few centuries, they activated the arc to recalibrate the prison. Languages shifted, cultures forgot their oldest songs, entire spiritual traditions disappeared overnight. The records you think were lost by accident, burned by invaders, or consumed by time, they weren't accidents. The arc erased them in a single wave of silence, turning once living truth into forgotten dust. Some say the arc is still active today, pulsing quietly beneath the surface of your reality. It is why no song feels whole anymore, why no prayer feels entirely true, why every note of music carries a subtle ache, as if it's missing something you can't name. It is why you feel the pull towards something greater, only to lose it again in the noise of modern life. Because every time your inner frequency strains toward the original tone, the arc answers with suffocating silence, a command embedded in the very air you breathe: forget. And yet, there is a weakness they will never admit. The arc of silence cannot destroy the first sound. It was born before all things, eternal and untouchable. It can only mask it, delay it, suppress it. That is why they fight so hard to keep you distracted, fragmented, asleep. Because if even a few of you learn to hold the true frequency long enough, together their silence will shatter like glass, and the arc itself will be swallowed by the song it tried to kill. Before I reveal the hidden flaw in the arc of silence, the secret they fear you will discover, leave a like if you've ever felt the weight of that invisible silence pressing on your soul, and subscribe because what comes next is what they have tried to erase since the dawn of time. For centuries, the arc of silence has stood as the unbreakable wall between you and the memory of the first sound. To the architects of forgetting, it is the crown jewel of their dominion, the ultimate guarantee that their fabricated reality will never be threatened. Yet whispers persist, rumors smuggled through time, carried in forbidden manuscripts, and passed in trembling voices among the last remnants of those who remember. They say the arc has a flaw, a weakness not born of metal or stone, but of the very arrogance of those who built it. Because while they could twist and suppress the frequency of creation, they could never fully erase it. Not from matter, not from life, and most importantly, not from the human heart. The secret lies in resonance. The arc can only devour what vibrates within its false parameters. Every sound you hear, every note produced by this engineered world, is trapped in the cage of their counterfeit frequency. But the first sound, the lost tone that called reality into being, does not follow their laws. It moves like light, beyond walls, beyond chains, beyond the boundaries of their machine. And they made one fatal miscalculation, that they had silenced it everywhere except in you. They believed cutting you off from memory was enough. They didn't realize that your heartbeat, your breath, the quiet hum in your chest when you're alone, all of it still carries an echo of the original tone, faint but indestructible. Testimonies of escaped prisoners from hidden resonance labs tell of experiments more terrifying than anything in history books. They say the Order tried to measure this living frequency inside. Humans tried to map it, isolate it, and erase it permanently. But every time they succeeded in suppressing it in one person, another soul somewhere else would awaken with an even stronger echo. It's like chasing light in a cave, one witness claimed. The more they try to stamp it out, the brighter it grows in others. This terrified them. It meant that the arc was never truly safe from collapse. If even a handful of humans aligned their inner frequency with the original tone, not through machines, but through pure remembrance, the arc's power would falter. Its silence would crack, unable to smother what it could not understand. Legends tell of a rare phenomenon when two or more awakened souls meet. They say when their voices hum together, even unintentionally, unnatural events occur. Lights flicker, earth trembles, time itself seems to pause. Some claim This is the only weapon capable of destroying the Ark, a chorus of awakened hearts, singing, not in words, but in the forgotten. A vibration that built stars. The architects fear this possibility more than they fear war, rebellion, or death. That's why they keep you isolated, mistrustful, fragmented. That's why they drown you in endless noise, keep you scrolling, keep you busy. Because the moment you stop, the moment you feel that pulse inside you, you are closer to remembering, and closer to breaking their silence forever. And maybe, just maybe, you've already felt it. A shiver under your skin when you hear certain sounds. A moment where the world feels alive in a way you can't explain. That is no accident. That is the fracture in their prison. That is the flaw in the Ark calling out to you, begging you to wake up, to hum, to resonate, to remember. Before we dive into the forbidden ritual said to awaken this lost resonance, the one the Order has hunted for centuries, leave a like if you've ever felt that strange, unexplainable vibration inside you, and subscribe, because the truth we're about to uncover is the one thing they fear you'll ever know. They call it a ritual because they fear the word remembrance. What survives of the ancient knowledge has been scattered, buried under centuries of lies and half-truths, yet fragments remain, hidden in coded scriptures, forgotten chants and symbols carved where only the desperate or the awake would ever look. It is not magic, not sorcery, but something far older, a precise alignment of breath, tone, and intent that pulls the veil aside and calls the first sound back into the bones of the living. Those who have performed it in secret say it is not about summoning something new, but about peeling away the layers of silence wrapped around your soul, revealing the unbroken frequency that has been there since the dawn of existence. Whispered accounts claim the ritual begins in darkness, not as a superstition, but because light distracts the senses bound to this false world. A candle, a hum, a heartbeat, slowed to its truest rhythm. The participant must let go of every word learned, every thought programmed by the system, until only the pulse remains, syncing not with clocks or machines, but with the breath of creation itself. Then comes the tone, not sung, not spoken, but felt, a vibration carried on the exhale, trembling in the chest, low and eternal. They say when it's done right, the walls ripple like water, and for a moment the prison flickers, revealing cracks in the illusion you thought was reality. But this ritual is forbidden because it works. Stories tell of entire gatherings vanishing without a trace after they dared to align in the original frequency. The Order of Silence claims they were cults, dangerous heretics. Survivors tell another story, that when the tone reached full resonance, soldiers arrived, not human soldiers, but figures clad in black soundproof armor, moving with unnatural precision, tasked with capturing or eliminating anyone who could remember the song. Some were taken alive, dragged to the hidden resonance. Labs to be dissected, studied, silenced forever. Others were burned where they stood, their hum turning to screams swallowed by static waves broadcast over the land, erasing the memory of their defiance before it could spread. Even now, the ritual survives only in pieces, a chant hidden in a remote monastery under another name, a breathing pattern passed down in secret families disguised as a meditation for sleep, a forbidden diagram etched into stone beneath ruins most believe are meaningless. Those who seek it know they risk everything, because the moment you approach true resonance, the system feels it. Devices glitch, lights flicker. You are marked. The architects cannot allow you to succeed, because one soul awakening threatens the entire structure of their silence. Yet every age has its rebels. There are those today, maybe even among you, who have felt this pull and followed it in secret, hearing the faint song in their dreams and daring to hum it awake when no one is listening. It terrifies the Order because they know what you have forgotten. The ritual cannot be fully erased. It is part of you. No machine, no arc, no false frequency can cut it out completely. They can only keep you too afraid to remember. And now, as you sit here listening, some part of you already knows the steps. That shiver on your skin, that strange warmth in your chest, that is the first note, trembling to rise. They cannot stop it forever. Before I reveal the hidden war being fought right now, a silent battle between those who protect the ritual and those who hunt it. Leave a like if you've ever felt this pull in your own body, and subscribe, because the next truth is the most dangerous one yet. You think wars are fought with guns, with tanks, with fire raining from the sky. That's what they want you to believe. The real war, the one that decides whether you remain asleep or awaken, makes no headlines. It is fought in vibrations, in whispers, in the invisible tension between those who carry the seed of the first sound and those sworn to silence it forever. Right now, as you breathe, there are guardians living among you, not prophets in robes, not saints or mystics on mountainsides, but ordinary souls who have heard fragments of the original tone and chosen to protect it with their lives. They work in shadows because the enemy hunts in shadows too, and every time a guardian rises, the Order of Silence deploys everything it has to break them before their song can spread. Leaked. Testimonies from ex-operatives paint a chilling picture of this silent war. They describe frequency suppression units, teams trained to infiltrate circles of awakening under the guise of friendship or guidance, only to fracture them from within. "We didn't kill," one operative confessed, "when we dissonated. We introduced countertones, subtle noises, engineered emotional chaos. The goal was never to win an argument, but to keep them out of alignment." This is psychological warfare at a level few can fathom. A battle not for territory, but for your very resonance, your ability to remember the note that would make their machine crumble. Yet the Guardians persist. Scattered across the globe, they find each other in ways no surveillance can predict, as if the frequency itself pulls them together. A woman in Lisbon dreaming the same hum as a man in Tokyo. A child in a forgotten village singing a melody their ancestors swore was forbidden. A stranger on a bus humming under their breath, making you stop, turn, and feel something ancient stir inside you. These are not coincidences. They are the front line of a war no one sees, a resistance too primal to be catalogued, too quiet to be stopped. The Order responds with fear disguised as control. New waves of noise flood the air, broadcast signals, infrasound pulses, the endless scroll of distraction engineered to keep you numb. Spiritual movements are infiltrated, rewritten into safe, hollow versions that never touch the real thing. Even music itself, once the most natural bridge to the first sound, is twisted into false frequencies designed to feel almost right, but never reach home. And yet, cracks form. Devices malfunction where guardians gather. Cities experience unexplained blackouts. Some say the Ark of Silence has begun to falter, its pulse weakening as more humans dare to hum again. This war is not fought on battlefields, it's fought inside you. Every time you choose to silence your inner tone out of fear, they win. Every time you dare to feel it rise, even for a second, the Guardians gain ground. The architects of forgetting know this. That is why they watch you more closely than you realize, because the most dangerous weapon in existence is not a bomb, not a gun, but a human being fully awake, resonating with the sound that built the stars. And what's coming next in this war? They can't stop it. The tone is rising faster than they can contain, and the day is coming when no ark, no machine, no false god of silence will be enough. Before I reveal the moment everything will change, the final awakening the Order has feared for millennia, leave a like if you feel this truth echoing inside you, and subscribe, because what you're about to hear is the prophecy they've buried under centuries of lies. They have spent thousands of years preparing for this moment, building towers of silence, weaving illusions of control, rewriting the script of reality itself. And yet, even with all their machines, all their false gods, all their manufactured frequencies, they could not stop what was always inevitable, the return of the first sound. The prophecy whispered through ages they tried to erase says it will not come like thunder, not like war, not like any of the dramas they staged to keep you distracted. It will come like a single breath, a low hum rising from a heart that finally remembers, and the moment it escapes into the world, it will awaken countless others in an unstoppable chain reaction. The sound that began all things will pass through every wall, every machine, every false veil they built, unmaking the silence they worshipped as a god. The Order fears this above all else because it cannot be predicted, cannot be contained. They do not know where it will happen, who will trigger it or when. Some say it has already begun, a tone surfacing in scattered souls across the planet, faint but growing, aligning hearts like tuning forks across continents. Scientists pretend not to notice the anomalies. electromagnetic fields flickering where no machines stand, time bending in rooms where only a breath is heard, matter vibrating at impossible frequencies. They dismiss it as glitches in their system, but in their deepest chambers, the architects know the truth. The song is waking, and once it rises fully, there will be no going back. Imagine that moment, the veil lifting, not for one person, not for a chosen few, but for everyone. The lies that shaped your identity falling away like ash, the false self they trained you to wear dissolving as your body resonates with the tone that built suns and oceans. In that instant, there will be no need for war, for speeches, for rebellion. The system of forgetting will simply collapse because no illusion can survive in the presence of pure creation. The arc of silence will crack, unable to devour what cannot be contained, and its walls of stillness will implode into nothingness as reality realigns with truth. And here's the secret they never wanted you to know. It doesn't take millions to start it. It doesn't take armies. The prophecy says it takes only one soul who refuses to bow to the silence, one person who dares to remember fully and sing, not with lips, but with their entire being, the first sound they tried to erase. Because resonance spreads, it leaps from one heart to another, defying every barrier the system built. The instant one stands unbroken, others awaken, and the chain cannot be stopped. Perhaps that soul is listening right now. Perhaps you feel it trembling inside you, the echo of something ancient pushing against the walls of fear, of programming, of false identity. They wanted you to believe you are powerless, but the truth they spent lifetimes burying, is that you are the very key to ending their dominion. The first sound is not lost. It has been waiting inside you all along. If this revelation resonates with you, if you feel that frequency rising, leave a like and subscribe, because what I'm about to share in the final chapter may change the way you see every act of kindness, every choice you make, every life you touch from this moment forward. And now you know, the secret they tried to bury under centuries of stone, war, scripture, and static, it was never gone. The first sound, the frequency that birthed oceans and carved light into the darkness, has been alive inside you all along, waiting for a moment of courage to rise again. Close your eyes and imagine it. A world where the veil cracks, not because of violence, not because of power, but because one human heart dares to vibrate in truth. Imagine cities pausing in awe as an invisible note sweeps across the air, bending time, making false towers crumble like paper. Imagine every lie you were ever told about being small, weak, broken, dissolving in an instant, replaced by the undeniable knowing that you are woven from the same tone that breathed stars into being. The day will come when someone, maybe you, will stand in that silence they built and refuse to bow. No chant, no grand gesture, just a breath aligned with the first frequency, and when it happens, the illusion will ripple, and those still asleep will stir, feeling it in their bones, a memory long forgotten bursting awake. They will weep without knowing why. They will drop their weapons, their masks, their scripts, realizing none of it was real. The architects of forgetting will watch their empire dissolve, powerless to stop what they swore. They destroyed forever, and what will remain after the silence shatters? Not chaos, not emptiness, but a harmony the world has not heard since the dawn of creation, a single tone shared by billions of awakened souls, no longer isolated, no longer fractured, singing the true song of being alive. The first sound will not return as a thunderous explosion, but as a gentle wave that carries everything home, realigning every breath, every heartbeat, every act of love to the original design they stole from you. And when it happens, you will remember that this was never about finding the frequency, it was about becoming it. Perhaps that is why you found this message. Perhaps this is the seed planted in you, the call you've been waiting to hear, reminding you of what you are, of what you carry. The system cannot stop kindness, it cannot silence love, it cannot kill the resonance of a heart aligned with truth. Every time you act from that place, you strike a blow at their arc of silence. Every time you lift another soul, even with a whisper, even with a touch, you amplify the tone they fear most. The prophecy is not far away, not waiting for a chosen one. It is already alive, trembling inside every act of genuine connection. You are not just a witness to the first sound's return. You are its vessel. So before you leave this story behind, carry this truth like fire in your hands. You were never broken, you were silenced. And silence can be shattered. One act of courage, one hum, one pure moment of remembrance can unravel centuries of darkness. You are not waiting for the sound of the beginning. You are the beginning, waiting to be heard. Have you ever done something kind that changed a life forever? Tell me in the comments. And if this story made you feel something stir inside you, share it with someone who needs to remember who they truly are, and let the first sound rise again.